Chosen one, what happened to you was never random. It was calculated, deliberate, engineered on a level that most will never understand. From the moment you arrived on this earth, the assignment against you was already activated. You've lived your whole life wondering why certain things just didn't add up. Why the people closest to you turned on you without warning. Why you kept finding yourself in cycles of betrayal, sabotage, manipulation. But hear me clearly now. This wasn't just personal hate. This wasn't just a dysfunctional family, a jealous friend, or a bitter ex. Number this was a coordinated spiritual campaign, a global operation, a multi-layered strategy designed by dark networks who detected your frequency before you even knew you carried it. They saw the mark, the divine code in your spirit. They felt the fire in your bloodline. They recognized the signature of someone who was sent, not born, but sent for a heavenly purpose. And the moment they realized what you carried, they struck. You see, chosen one, no army wastes ammunition on something that isn't a threat. You were hunted because you are important. And more than that, you're dangerous. Not dangerous to the innocent, but dangerous to their system, dangerous to strongholds, dangerous to spiritual bondage that's lasted for generations. They saw you as a breach in their fortress, a glitch in their matrix, a walking interruption to their timeline of control. That's why they came for you so early. That's why they tried to destroy your mind before you could form full sentences. That's why they tried to program you through trauma, through abandonment, through silence, because they couldn't afford to let you wake up to who you really are. This wasn't just life happening. It was war, spiritual war, a silent attack with real consequences. They used people like pawns, family, friends, teachers, lovers, anyone close enough to touch your inner world. They thought if they couldn't stop your soul, they'd distract your heart. If they couldn't block your calling, they'd bury you in emotional chaos. But what they didn't know is that every wound sharpened your discernment. Every betrayal unlocked another level of your ancestral DNA. Every false accusation purified your intentions. What they meant for destruction became the fuel of your becoming. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because your presence shifts dimensions. Your voice carries codes. Your mind can see through the matrix. And the moment you start walking in alignment with your true identity, everything they built begins to crumble. They can feel it. They know the clock is ticking. That's why the pressure's been increasing. That's why the warfare got more complex. You've probably felt it. Strange dreams, heavy atmospheres, sudden emotional crashes, people acting out of character. These are not coincidences. These are countermeasures. You are not paranoid. You are perceptive. You're not cursed. You're called. And what they don't want you to remember is that heaven backed you before earth ever knew your name. You were covered before you were attacked. You were chosen before they plotted. And now the boomerang has begun. The same energy they tried to use against you is returning with interest, with weight, with divine timing. The protection over your life isn't just a bubble, it's a weapon. You don't just have spiritual security, you are the counterstrike. So if you've been wondering why the battle has felt so relentless, it's because your existence is prophetic. You're not just a person, you're a revelation, a living scroll, a heavenly disruption, and your awakening was the alarm clock hell feared would never ring. But it's ringing now, loud, clear, unstoppable. So don't shrink, don't second guess. Don't explain your fire to people who fear the light. What's coming next is not just breakthrough, it's vindication. Because the same mouths that said you were crazy will be the same ones whispering, this person gotta be protected by something higher. Nothing we did worked. And that chosen one is just the beginning. Chosen one. There's a reason the knives didn't come from strangers. They came from the table you sat at, from the arms you once trusted, from the voices that once whispered, "I love you." This wasn't random betrayal. This was an inside job. You've been targeted not just by opposition, but by infiltration. The enemy didn't send obvious threats. They planted watchers, listeners, spiritual informants wearing familiar faces, friends, lovers, even blood relatives. Not all of them were who they claimed to be. Some were assigned. You've probably felt it, the strange shift in energy after you shared a dream, the way someone suddenly distanced themselves right after a breakthrough, the tight smile that didn't reach their eyes when you succeeded. This is not your imagination. It's spiritual espionage. A hidden network operating through people close enough to gather your plans, decode your emotions, map your patterns. These weren't just unhealthy relationships. They were weaponized bonds, strategically placed to extract information and sabotage your mission from the inside. They were promised things, opportunities, favor, secrets, leverage, if they turned on you, if they distracted you, if they kept you second-guessing yourself long enough that you never stepped fully into your divine authority. Some of them knew exactly what they were doing. Others, programmed, manipulated by spiritual contracts their bloodlines signed long before your paths ever crossed. But here's the part that changes everything. Your soul knew. It warned you. Through subtle dreams, through the knot in your stomach after certain conversations, through the sudden sense of unease in what used to feel like safety. Your spirit has been reading energy long before your mind caught up. The chills you ignored, the moments you went silent mid-sentence, the sudden urge to protect your ideas. That was divine intuition, not fear, not paranoia, preparation. Because when you're chosen, the closer they stand, the more dangerous they can be. Proximity isn't proof of loyalty. Proximity just gives them a better view of your light. And light, chosen one, exposes. That's why they started acting out. Why they turned cold. Why they began smearing your name before you even spoke. Your presence activated their shadows. And instead of healing, they chose betrayal. But listen to me now. You are not unprotected. You are not exposed. Your spiritual firewall is ancient, ancestral, activated by prayer, by fasting, by the silent groans of your lineage crying out for justice. The enemy tried to embed themselves in your relationships, but they forgot something crucial. You're not operating alone. Heaven watches every hidden agenda. And just when they think they've succeeded in confusing you, in controlling the narrative, in collecting intel, your intuition flips the entire battlefield. You begin to see them, really see them. Not their smile, not their charm, but their vibration, their inconsistencies, their spiritual contracts disguised as connection. And when you finally listen to your soul, the network begins to collapse. You distance yourself. You go silent. You stop feeding their access. And in doing so, you cut the power line to their assignment. They thought you were naive. They thought your kindness was blindness. But they underestimated how strategic God made you. They didn't realize you were built like a battlefield, soft enough to feel, sharp enough to see. You are the kind of spirit they can't infiltrate forever. Because even in your lowest moments, your intuition refused to be shut down. So don't ignore the signs anymore. Don't explain away the tension. Don't minimize the dreams. The network is being exposed, name by name, mask by mask. And the truth is rising, chosen one, not just to free you, but to redeploy you. Because the closer they stood, the faster they're about to fall. Chosen one. When the attacks intensified, when your energy felt hijacked, when nothing made sense in the natural realm, Something ancient woke up inside you. Not rage, not fear, but memory, spiritual memory encoded in your DNA. Because what you are facing now is not just about this life. This battle stretches across bloodlines. And when the enemy touched you, they triggered the wrong blood. They thought you were defenseless, but your DNA remembered. It remembered the women who prayed in silence with tears as weapons, the warriors who spoke in riddles but fought in fire, the prophets who carried light in caves when kingdoms fell to corruption. When your enemies attacked you, they activated them. Suddenly, your dreams changed. They weren't just weird anymore. They were strategic. You began waking up at 3:33, 4:44, with fragments of faces, places, names you've never known, but felt deeply familiar. The sound of the wind felt like a message. The way the sun hit your skin sparked something beyond emotion. It felt like recognition. You started hearing things others ignored, seeing signs in leaves, patterns, numbers, smelling scents from nowhere. Because your senses weren't reacting to this world. They were responding to the frequency of your ancestors. You weren't hallucinating. You were downloading. Spiritual intelligence encoded for this very moment was being transmitted through your cells. Tactics, discernment, divine blueprints. These weren't just instincts. They were ancient instructions. Because your DNA isn't just biological. It's a scroll, a sacred map. And in your darkest hour, that scroll was opened. You didn't fight back the way they expected. You went quiet. You went inward. You started making moves that made no sense to the world, but perfect sense to heaven, and it confused them, because the person they tried to destroy became unreadable. Your strategy became unpredictable. You stopped reacting emotionally and started moving spiritually. That was not a personality shift. That was ancestral activation. The whispers you feel before entering a room, the sense that someone already tried this, that's because they did. And they survived long enough to code the warning into your bones. You are the answer to prayers prayed long before you arrived. And that's why, when the attacks came hardest, your blood did not collapse. It stood up. You are not just chosen. You are ancient, a living weapon carrying encrypted wisdom from generations who refused to die before passing it on. And every time you hold your peace, trust your gut, walk away from the trap, call on the name of God, you activate another layer, another level, another locked chamber of divine defense. This isn't just your fight. This is their victory being completed through you. So when the pressure rises, don't panic. Listen, your DNA is speaking, the old codes are running, and what they thought would break you just awakened everything you were born to remember. Chosen one, every word they whispered against you, every ritual they launched in the shadows, every insult wrapped in false kindness, every spell, every hex, every malicious prayer was intercepted and converted. Because you don't just survive spiritual attacks, you transform them. They tried to curse your mind, but your discernment grew sharper. They aimed for your health, and your body became more resilient. They sent confusion, and your clarity sharpened like a blade. They sent delay, and you learned divine timing. You are not a victim of energy. You are a processor of frequency. You take low vibrations and raise them. You take poison and transmute it into purpose. You take betrayal and refine it into discernment. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual warfare mastery. This is alchemy, not with metals, but with meaning. The reason they can't figure out how you're still standing is because they don't understand. You are no longer reacting from the human level. You are operating from the heavenly dimension, where every curse is caught examined, stripped of power, and turned into a testimony. That's why the fire didn't consume you. It refined you. That's why the arrows didn't pierce. They redirected you. That's why the sabotage became strategy. That's why what was meant to end you actually announced you. Because the chosen ones are not just protected, they are trained through adversity. Every attack is a classroom. Every insult, a mirror. Every trap, a map to greater glory. You're not just wearing armor. You are the armor. You're not just praying for peace. You embody peace in a realm that feeds on chaos. You're not just dodging spiritual warfare. You're using it as elevation. They think you're passive because you're silent. But silence, for the chosen one, is a sacred weapon. Stillness is not surrender. It is the eye of the storm, the place where heaven breathes strategies into you. So the next time they send energy toward you, don't panic. Remember, you've already walked through worse. Your blood remembers. Your spirit is armed. And the spell they cast may hit your field, but it can't stay there. Because your frequency is incompatible with bondage. Your identity is allergic to lies, and your destiny cannot be hijacked. You are not the target anymore. You are the boomerang. Everything they've done is coming back. But to them, you don't need revenge. You are the response, and the God who anointed you fights through you. This is not your breakdown. This is your spiritual counterstrike, and this time, the battle ends with you still standing. Chosen one, you've asked it in the quiet of your room. You've whispered it through tears. Why is everyone leaving me? But what felt like rejection was actually protection. Your isolation was not abandonment. It was a divine quarantine. Because what you carried in your soul was too sacred to be contaminated. Heaven didn't let you be surrounded, not because you weren't worthy, but because your environment was under surveillance. Your silence was not a punishment. It was a sacred chamber. And the loneliness wasn't empty. It was loaded with angels. When people walked away, they weren't walking away from you. They were being removed. You see, in this war, spiritual poisoning doesn't always come in obvious attacks. It comes in conversations that drain you, in fake support wrapped in envy, in advice designed to weaken your conviction. So God issued an order, a command from the courts of heaven. Remove all access to the chosen one until their spirit is stabilized. That's why friends ghosted. That's why relationships turned cold. That's why even family couldn't see you. You weren't being forgotten. You were being sealed. Because chosen ones are not developed in crowds. They are refined in solitary flames. Your strategy became unprediced. When the noise faded, you began to hear it, the frequency, the messages in the wind, the whispers in your dreams, the divine strategies being downloaded straight into your spirit. You weren't crazy. You were being contacted because the ones assigned to walk with you, your ancestors, your angels, your spiritual counsel, they only reveal themselves clearly when all other voices are silenced. And now you understand that aloneness was a battlefield, a test, a portal, and you passed. You didn't just survive the silence, you decoded it. And now, you can no longer be manipulated by noise. You know how to read energy, you know how to detect shadow, you know how to sit with spirit until the answer rises like smoke from the altar. So if you're still alone, chosen one, don't resent it, honor it, because heaven hides what it intends to elevate, and the solitude you hated was the shield that saved your life. Chosen one, there is a reason you knew what was coming before it even moved. There is a reason your skin crawled when their names were mentioned, even when everyone else was laughing. You have been enrolled in a divine intelligence network that cannot be hacked, traced, or deceived. And now your soul is wired into the supernatural surveillance system of heaven. You dreamed about them before they acted. You felt the energy shift before the spell was spoken. You sensed the alliance forming before they even had a conversation, because chosen ones don't wait for the enemy to strike. You feel the war approaching in the wind. You hear the whisper of betrayal in the background noise. You know, without evidence. And yet, you're always right. This is not paranoia. This is prophetic protocol. You're not just walking by faith, you're walking with access to a divine war room. And don't let anyone convince you you're being dramatic. You're receiving high-level intelligence through visions, dreams, number codes, and energetic frequency. You are the alert system. Before the gossip begins, your spirit tightens. Before the attack is planned, your sleep is disturbed. Before the spell is cast, the Holy Spirit intercepts it with a dream so vivid, you wake up already praying in tongues. This isn't a coincidence. This is spiritual strategy, because the ones who come against you are never invisible to heaven. And heaven doesn't just defend you, it updates you. It keeps you 10 steps ahead. It moves you before they strike. It shuts doors they think they opened. You've become the watchtower of your bloodline, the seismograph of energy in your region, the strategic intelligence agent of the kingdom. Not because you asked for it, but because your spirit proved reliable when others gave up. And now you are the reason demonic networks are scrambling. They don't understand how their rituals keep failing. They can't figure out why their attacks never land. It's because you see it coming, and heaven sees through you. Your life is no longer reactive, it is prophetically armed. In Chosen One, you were not chosen to fear the enemy. You were chosen to outsmart them, outlast them, and outlight them. Your gift is not just insight, it is preemption. And when the next shift comes, you won't just be ready, you'll already be moved. Because the Spirit doesn't just protect its own, it positions them. Chosen One, they mocked your pain. They manipulated your kindness. They sowed curses in the dark, thinking no one would ever shine a light on what they did. But heaven was watching, and heaven never forgets. They thought their betrayal would last forever. They thought you would never rise. They thought their smear campaigns, silent treatments, gaslighting, and black magic would keep you in a pit so deep you'd never see sunlight again. But here's what they didn't understand. You were never the victim. You were the evidence. Every word they whispered behind closed doors, every lie they spread like wildfire, every time they laughed at your struggle while lighting candles to curse you, was being recorded not by man, but by the laws of the Spirit. And now, that law has come to collect. They're watching their health unravel, bank accounts drained, relationships collapse, mind tormented. Because when you target a chosen one, you don't just start a conflict, you trigger a spiritual lawsuit. And the judge doesn't rule by popularity, connection, or manipulation. He rules by truth. The curse they sent, it boomeranged. The grave they dug, it became their own. The trap they set, you outgrew it, and now they're trapped in the same system they designed for you. This is not revenge. This is recompense. Because in the divine court, every tear has a price, and yours, chosen one, was not in vain. You cried silently. You forgave repeatedly. But heaven saw it all, and heaven made you into a sword, not of anger, but of justice. You are now the walking proof that God restores what was stolen. Your peace is a punishment to their chaos. Your glow is a testimony. Your favor, it is a verdict. And make no mistake, they are watching. They are confused. They are panicking because you didn't curse them back. You didn't expose them out of spite. You rose silently. And your elevation is the loudest judgment of all. Chosen one, you are not just protected, you are the return address of every spiritual weapon they try to launch. And from this day forward, they will know you don't touch a divine sword and walk away clean. Chosen one, you were never just escaping the fire, you were being anointed in it. Every trial that tried to bury you was actually crowning you. You didn't crawl out of the warfare broken. You walked out with oil on your forehead and authority in your voice. This isn't just survival, this is spiritual succession. You are now the leader, the light, the legacy. Not because you wanted the role, but because heaven appointed you. The very same people who once laughed, doubted, dismissed, and betrayed, now whisper your name with caution, because they realize you carry something not taught, but activated. They come to you now, not for gossip, not to manipulate, but to learn. How did you survive that storm? How did you stay silent and still win? How did you keep your light while being surrounded by so much shadow? And you don't need to answer with words. Your peace is the proof. Your presence is the teaching. Your victory is the sermon. Because when God anoints someone, no smear campaign, witchcraft ritual, or bloodline curse can block it. You were chosen for a higher realm of leadership. Not the kind that begs for recognition, but the kind that shifts rooms with presence alone. You no longer have to prove you're worthy. Your existence is the evidence. The crown didn't fall from the sky. It was formed in the furnace. And now, the enemies are falling. The illusions are breaking. The kingdom is confirming what your soul has always known. You were sent here to lead. This is your coronation, not with diamonds, but with divine oil. You've been raised in private, but now you will reign in power, and no force in hell can stop what heaven has ordained.